Rockin' Larry Locken. Sorry about that. I had the mute button on. What's your opinion, show? Hey, I wanted to kind of touch on something that I heard a story earlier on the Young Turks, um, and I'd also read about this happening at a Trump rally here the other night. It was actually on the 31st, so that would have been a day before my birthday, which was Tuesday night, in front of a ruckus crowd in Florida. You know how them Trump rallies get. Um, let me read. I'm going to play a video for you, but let me read let me read to you what he said. Let me read part of the transcript. Of course, speaking to a gathering of rock supporters in the Sunshine State, which is Florida, he was pushing for the usual, racist voter ID laws for future elections, and of course, he was doing this to, he was kind of doing this to suppress the voice of those who might want to dare to elect someone else in the Oval Office. But, and to drive home his point, he's like, basically, this is how in tune this guy is with reality, okay? He said that it was ridiculous not to require certain forms of identification when one goes to vote. He says, because heck, you need ID to simply buy some cereal at the supermarket. If you go out and you want to buy groceries, you need a picture on a card. Trump said you need ID. The thing is, and this is true, like, you don't at all if you have cash. And typically, I don't ever get asked for my ID when using my debit card, to buy food or whatever, or nothing. I've never even seen people ask for their ID for an EBT card. So this idea, this notion that he wants people to go out and they have to have an ID. So what would that mean? Any kid that went into a store that was underage that wouldn't have like a driver's license or a picture ID, he couldn't buy a soda or a juice or something like that because he didn't have picture ID. I mean, if he wants to make sure that everybody has picture ID in the country, then he can pay for all those folks that don't have ID, that need ID, so they can go ahead and vote. But, the whole problem with that is it should be mail-in voting anyway in those states like Oregon. That would satisfy all the bullshit. But these are racial things. This is a racial dog whistle, too. Trump is so ignorant, but he likes that idea that got to show your ID. It's kind of part of his fascist kind of Nazi type. I mean, I don't say this shit to try to scare people, okay? I was into politics for a lot of years, and then for like 4 years after Obama beat Romney, I was kind of like, just like, I did other things, but Trump getting elected, it really is fucked up, and we have no idea what the next day is going to bring, what the next couple of years are going to bring. It's going to be a crazy couple of years. And the fact that this is just another, either this is just something that the Republicans will go along with him on and think, oh, that might be a good idea, or, not say anything at all about it. But this is his mindset. I mean, this isn't going to come to fruition. I'm not trying to say or anything like that. Okay, but you never know. And a president saying that, I mean, he said some crazy shit before, like every day, like 1,025 lies since he's been president. Okay, but this kind of shit, and crazy statements, like about Mexicans being rapists and drug dealers and no good, and basically anybody with brown skin, period, is no good or any use to him. Unless it's for a quick photo op or something like that. But this is such a it's purely a way to keep everybody kind of in a even more of a database. There's so many things that could come from this if it happened, and I don't see it happening. But these are the kind of ideas Trump has. Okay, and this is the way Trump's always been. He's always thought this way. He's always kind of had this fascist mentality if you listen to him really closely. Even his interview in the 80s where people go, oh, fuck, he sounded real liberal and anti-Ronald Reagan and all that. Not really. He sounded really arrogant in his responses, and like there was a control thing there, and maybe he wasn't showing all his cards, but I could still read right through him. But this is just amazing. I mean, this is like when there's one other situation with George Bush. I guess he couldn't figure out how to scan something through a scanner, one of those automatic scanners, and he didn't know how much a gallon of milk was. But that's nothing compared to rallying up a crowd, getting the crowd all raucous stuff over. People ought to show an ID. Everybody, these stupid, ignorant people at this fucking Trump rally, which, are getting smaller and smaller, thankfully, but the people are getting weirder and weirder. They go to them. Like I noticed the other night I mentioned for like 2 seconds this new group QAnon that's out and said that, they were nothing to worry about or talk about. Well, they're not really, but there's somebody to keep in mind because they spread bullshit. Okay. And I couldn't believe I saw a picture. Man, it looked like thousands of people at that Trump rally were wearing these QAnon shirts or spray paint or getting white t-shirts and spray painting it on their shirt. So, I mean, this is the ridiculousness of it. And it just scares me. It's why it's important that we get out there and vote. But I mean, Trump is losing his mind too. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes down. If he resigns, if he stays in there till the next term, he could be reelected. My prediction is that if he can keep his mental health in state, and I'm wrong, and that Mueller doesn't have as much on him as I think. If those two things come to fruition, then I think he'll finish out a first term. I mean, by the time they got him impeached, like I was saying the other night, I think that if he lost, even he'd be able to finish out a first term, unless Mueller's got what I think he's got on him, and has actually led to not have justice obstructed on him. You know what I mean? Whether that's not enough senators voting, to throw him out once the Senate, Congress, once the House has impeached him, or whatever. And just we'll see how it's going to go. Nobody's going to do anything until January because this is how the political thing goes. Everybody's off till everybody that is of any kind of national importance. There's a lot of hard people working on the ground, working hard in places, to make sure that this thing goes off without a hitch. But we're really not doing anything about, we are individually trying to shore up our election system so they can't be hacked by the Russians. But what I was saying is everybody's on vacation till September. They'll come back in September for about a month and a half, and then they'll take that rest off. They'll campaign for those last few weeks, and that takes us into November. We get out of there, and then about a week later, they start thinking about shit still with the lame duck Congress, and and then first week in January, the new Congress will take over. But what alarms me is if the Democrats do take over Congress, what alarms me is that what Trump would do in those 60 days. But what alarms me even more is that unless we get Nancy Pelosi out of there and don't let her be the House Majority Leader. I mean, he'll constantly, it'll be perfect for him, especially if the Republicans maintain the Senate. So he's got that. I mean, he can fuck with Pelosi the whole time, that he's to the 2 years, and it'd be a good way for him to, run a re-election. I think that's his only chance, is to pick on Pelosi and Schumer, two rejects that even, most Democrats of all ranges of our party, liberals, whatever you want to call it, progressive, that we can't stand. So, but this shit is just, these voter ID laws have cost us 3 elections in just this last century. Okay. Well, and the Russians hacking into this one was the main thing. The voter ID law wouldn't have done it by itself. It happened, but it wasn't quite enough. It wasn't quite enough to do it. They had to have a little bit more help this time around with 3 states, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, which so that's I think that's the big shoe to drop if we ever found out the real truth. They got into those computers and altered the total a little bit, and in rural areas some shady shit going on too. Just a gut feeling I have. No proof on that. That's just opinion, no facts. But also I noticed too. I noticed too that of course another guy, Dr. Kevin Albo, I think from Fox News, was fired today. He's like a body language reading expert who's been there forever and real good. But I didn't even bother to give a fuck to look what it was he was up to. That place is a cesspool and like state-run media. I don't know. Trump, I don't know. I wouldn't. I don't know. We need to get rid of the son of a bitch, but I hope he does stay till January, though. Somehow we can keep him till January, because if he was gone after that, you'd have, of course, Pence have to take over as president. That's even almost worse. But we have a Democrat, and we might have Nancy Pelosi as the vice president, because whoever the House Majority Leader is, even if it's the other party, they become the vice president. So we'll see. We could be living in an era where we get to see the first president or second president in modern times to be president without being elected. Gerald Ford, of course, served 2 years after Nixon resigned in '74. But we could see it again. This is, it's kind of like Watergate too. So we could see it's possible. We could see Pence become president for a little while. And he definitely would not be reelected. I don't care how much the Russians hack that. Yeah, there ain't enough hacking that could go on to get him elected president, though. I mean, he only had a 40% approval rating when he left Indiana. But as governor, he was thinking about rerunning, but then all of a sudden he got offered the VP position. But yeah, this is stuff people need to pay attention to. I'm not expecting everybody to be a political junkie like me, but things like this affect your rights. Okay, and I'm gonna say that whatever, this may sound cliche, but that's how Nazi Germany started out. And Trump has that kind of dictator mentality. He likes military parades like the Russians have and the North Koreans have and Hitler had, and just, I mean, if you don't already, you know what I mean? If you had to ask me, really, the thing is I'm kind of just talking to talk, because if you had to ask, you'll never really know. But, chances are. And if you don't believe me, you don't believe me. And if the facts are there right in front of you. I mean, you can't deny any of this shit. I mean, you can justify it and agree with anything he said because he's your guru and messiah. And when you have a guru or a messiah, you agree with everything they say. Anything they said, it's, oh, well, they said this. Mr. Trump did this. Mr. Trump is saying this. Boy, hear what Mr. Trump. When you talk about other people like that, you're taking away your own self-power. You're giving away your own self-power. I have a good friend of mine who I used to do some spiritual shows with, Bridget Rao, would say, that came up with the term G-U-R-U, guru. You are your own guru. G-U-R-U. You are your own guru. Okay, where we look outside too much of ourselves for shit, when we start looking inside more. And that's me included, But I'm just trying to tell people out there that don't give a shit about politics that, these are things that are scary. This guy's got this kind of mindset, and he's got the executive kind of powers to do some of this shit. I mean, it's very unstable and it's very unsettling. And it looks like we look like a fucking embarrassment to the rest of the world. You know, I mean, we do. We look like we're trying to develop some kind of alliance with Russia, then against Europe and our allies. And it looks, I don't know, man. I don't know what Putin's got on Trump, or if Trump's just in love with him and fascinated because he's the dictator of Russia. I mean, it's either that simple and sick, or I mean, I don't even think it matters whether they got anything on him or not. They've got, excuse me, excuse me, they've got they've got enough on him. If they've got his tax returns, well, what those will show, you know, what I think what his tax returns are going to show are going to be like that one year he released in '96, where it showed him losing 900 and something, almost $1 billion that year at his casino. Okay, and there was some kind of tax law too that also went into that filing, where he could also do that with his claim that with his income the next 14 years or so. So like through 2013, like he could claim his losses and not have to pay anything. Okay, so I mean, and he's filed for bankruptcy 6 times, 8 times rumored, to twice behind the scenes. I didn't know anybody could. Well, I guess if you got businesses, you can file more than 4 times. But I mean, who files bankruptcy on that many casinos? I mean, what a slime ball every year to even use that tax loophole. People say, "Oh, that's cool," but then to use it for 14 straight years when you're that wealthy and there's people starving in the world. What a fucking dumbass. You know, just like those Polish workers that he ripped off, that he paid them off with Trump vodka, another product he had that failed. Yeah, Trump vodka. I think he like went to Finland one time or Sweden or somewhere and thought that he could. I don't know. Maybe they took him to the vodka factory, whatever. But you know, Absolute and whatever, Finlandia, whatever their brand is in Finland, and he got that idea to make his own, you know, vodka, like his own university, where when you get your degree, you get a live picture of him, a cutout of him. I mean, only this guy would think of this shit. Only some cheap, spoiled con artist would fucking go that fucking, just that fucking low. You know, and he's doing it half-ass. He knows better than that. He knows that you gotta show fucking ID, or he knows that you don't have to probably show ID for a lot of this shit. He's just putting it out there to dog whistle. That's all he's doing. You know, he's just putting it out there to dog whistle. Okay, so he knows. He knows what he says. He knows he's racist. I mean, and the thing is, we know he's racist. America knows he's fucking racist. And these people are getting crazier and crazier and crazier that are supporting him. You know what I mean? I mean, fuck, you know. And now, of course, Alex Jones is. I don't know why, but I was just going to mention this real quick because I don't like mentioning him either. But he's suing. He's suing Sandy Hook, or some of the parents of Sandy Hook, or the school itself. I'm not sure which one, but yeah, it's pretty crazy out there. You know what I mean? The shit and the misinformation that comes from people like him and Breitbart and state-run media and this QAnon group now that's trying to, now their theory is that Mueller's really working for Trump, and it's just they're bringing Obama and Hillary down for the hacking the Russian election. Oh, yeah. They got Hillary didn't want to be president so bad that she they worked her magic to pay out, they went in and paid the Russians off. So for Christ's sake, she didn't have to serve 4 years or 8 years in that place. Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. I'm sure. That's about as likely as the sun not coming up tomorrow in a non-clouded area. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's about all I gotta say. I got something disgusting to say about him every day, but I'm trying to be calm. I'm trying to be a little bit calmer about it. You know what I mean? And understanding that maybe this too shall pass. But what I'm just trying to say is we've got a couple of years where we really need to keep our eye on the ball, and then keep our eye a little bit on the ball. But man, it don't hurt people to understand what's going on with their country or their government instead of just throw their arms up in the air and go, well, oh, it's a deep state conspiracy and all this bullshit. And how do you know that? How do you know that? Because you heard that somewhere, because you've heard politicians talk in the past, so stale on TV and those one-liners that they use and yada yada. I mean, there's a lot of corruption, of course, in politics, but it's not it's not as bad as you would think it is, but it's about double as crazy as you would probably think it is. It's not, it's not exactly what you would think. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm not excusing it, but it's not all the time, unless it's like somebody like the Koch brothers that donate to these mass, mostly Republicans, probably a couple Democrats. They probably help Pelosi and Schumer out a little bit on the Dem side, but they help mostly, Republicans out like Mitch McConnell and did Paul Ryan and lots of others. I'm sure Trey Gowdy's in their pocket, Devin Nunes, all of them. Trump finally, although I hear one's mad at Trump, that's just some stupid shit. They don't. Republicans will stab each other in the back, but they always stick together. So, anyway, with all that being said, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy weekend, and thanks for listening to my rant about Trump. Oh, also, I wanted to give a shout out. I wanted everybody to check out on YouTube a channel called Candid with Candace. It's Candace, Candice. I plan to interview her in the future. Check out her YouTube channel and check out her page. Just check out her page on Facebook as well. And also, along with that, of course, check out Opinion But Facts, Kenny Jackson, the kind of the CEO of this whole thing. And you can check out my other two channels, Palladium Light Grid Project and Palladium Express Productions. And also you can check us all out on Twitter and on Facebook by the same names, of all the names I mentioned. So yeah, it's late. It's like it's 3:30 here on the West Coast, so I'm going to hit the sack. But much love to everybody, and thank you for listening to the rant.